Welcome to an episode with guest Sam Rawlings, who's a friend of mine and is a children's creative counsellor. But we're going to be talking about today is creativity supporting families to reduce anxiety, which is an amazing topic to talk about. It's a very different way compared to how we have spoke about mental health on the podcast. And Sam is different in herself, and I'll let her explain how she is different. So Sam, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and watchers on who you are, what you do, and why it's different as well?
Hi, Danny. Thank you for having me as a guest today. It feels really weird because, as you know, I run my own series. So to be sat here as a guest and not hosting it, and I'm like, okay. I am a children's creative counsellor, as you rightly said. So I'm a mum. I have 2 grown-up daughters, and I have 3 amazing grandchildren, and they are my world, really, I would say. But being around children, there's just so much you can do. And I think because of like my history, so kind of I originally started off working in nurseries, so as a nursery nurse and then a nursery officer, depending whether it was school or a children's centre. They were different in, like, you know, how you were seen as from birth upwards. And then from there I've like volunteered with the Children's Society, so I was a mentor then. I've worked in children's homes. That was for 3 years. And that was a real difficult kind of challenge. However, there was so much learning going on as well. So if I go back a little bit, because I do tend to kind of jump conversations on topics I've noticed when I'm talking. And I'm like, oh yeah, the question was, how I ever passed my college courses, I don't really know, because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's like, answer the question, not go around the houses, which is my thing. Anyway, so I originally, as I say, started working in nurseries, and I've been working there quite a while. And I guess it had got to a stage where you become a bit complacent, don't you? You've been there a long time. They're bringing the things round and round and round, and you're like, it's not really enough for me now. And the families that I was working with were a lot more complex. There was a lot more going on. There was a lot more safeguarding. There was a lot more concerns. A lot more like support was needed, you know, through different agencies. And I just felt that there was something more needed. And what it was is I heard on the radio and different kinds of media that 1 in 5 children under 4 would develop mental health issues. And that was a real eye-opener for me. It was just like,
contributes to that, and why that's happening now.
Well, at the time, the families that I was working with, I could see that. So for me, it's been always there. But I think the difference now is that there's a bigger awareness, you know, so there's like so many more. When I say support, it's been opened up more. So for a start, we've got social media, so everybody can see everything across the world, can't they? And when like previous, like when we were young and when we were growing up, even when my daughters were teens, it was all hidden, as in probably stayed within families, you know, them real kind of beliefs, them values, traditions, like you don't want to like share what's going on, you know. There were a lot of kind of nod, yes kind of thing as well, you know, how people behaved. And a lot of that come from previous, you know, generations and things like that. And then we followed on. And if you think about it, there was a lot where mums stayed at home. And didn't work and were full-time parents. And there were none where we are now, where you're like, I'm off to work and you can stay at home and things like that. There'll have been some, but if you think of it in an overall way. So if you think of the way that we were brought, I know I'm older than you, but the way that I was brought up and then where we are now, and there's so much more opportunities, I guess. And
it's easier to connect with other people around this stuff, isn't it? I know that when we were kids and growing up and stuff, like if you heard someone had a breakdown or someone was depressed. It was rare to hear
Yeah,
that, or someone says they're
definitely.
not depressed. It was like, no, really? And it was a shock. Whereas now it's less of a shock because I think it's normalized that we are human and we do go through anxiety, depression, and other related
Absolutely.
challenges. Before we get into talking about the creativity and anxiety and what you do, I want to just highlight the fact of how powerful it is. So the job that Sam has actually, my son has actually had creative counselling within school. And for us, it's like it's a completely different child, especially in school. I mean, we still have challenges at home. So for any watchers and listeners that don't know, my son is going through his second round of autism diagnosis. We do believe this time there's more evidence to show that he is autistic. But we have been diagnosed anxiety for him. And he wouldn't go into school, many challenges, and he had play therapy within school. He told me he loved it. He would mention every week that he's done that on a Monday, to the point that every day was like, when's it Monday again, mummy? When's it Monday again? Because he enjoyed the sessions, but he was doing therapy. And he used to make things and come home and show me what he's made and tell me about it. Can we do things like this at home, mummy? Yeah, we can. So then we brought it into our home. I mean, I've always been creative anyway. And he was, before Christmas in 2023, he wasn't able to go into school. After Christmas 2020, he finished his play therapy at Christmas into 2024. He has now been into school I get so happy just sharing this. He's been into school every single day with no issues. He had one blip the other day where he did end up being on red, which is like their the way they record like children's behaviour and punishment and stuff and rewards. But it was just generally being silly and not listening to the teachers. Usual things that everybody's child does at one point.
Yeah.
And we actually laughed about it like this is the biggest issue with him now. And he just made us so proud. But he's turned the corner, and I think I see the impact it has had on building his confidence in a creative, playful way. And that's what you do, isn't it, Sam? It's like you come and take these children and you work with the family as a whole and you bring creativity and fun. You are fun and different into it. And it's so unique. And I love that. So that brings me to my first question, actually. For you, why was it creativity that you brought into your counselling? Because it's so different and I love it.
Thank you for that. I just want to say that I just think like what you're saying about your son is just like I know you and your family, and I've seen the difference in him as well, and it's just amazing.
Well,
That
there's an example where you came to my house for lunch the other week and he
yeah,
spoke to
I
you.
did.
And he would never spoke to someone he's not met before, and he did.
He did, and he seemed so confident, and that was so lovely to see. And that's kind of my job, isn't it, in some ways, helping these children find the self-worth, believing in the self that they can do something, you know, and that it doesn't matter if a mistake happens, but they can do something. So the reason I got into creativity is obviously I went to college, and this was right back when I was training in my counselling. So I decided that, as I say, I was going into counselling because more was needed. And at the time, I was a little bit torn of whether to work with children, adults, like you do. You're not sure of the path, are you really? And it was a group of some of my fellow students who said that you're creative, and I just looked at them daft and laughed and went, no, I'm not creative. So, and it really sat with me that I was not creative for so long, not just over college. Years later, I was still like, no, I'm not creative. When I look back, I worked in nurseries, I've worked in schools, I'm around children. I've done so many things that some people would be scared to do, like running around the nursery grounds with a big brolly over my head, splashing in puddles, laughing, giggling. That is creative. It doesn't have to be a pencil and paper. And the reason I pulled away from being creative was I struggled with art in school. I was really kind of self-conscious that I couldn't do it. I wasn't enough. Then when I went through my own mental health issues, we went to, myself and two others, we went to a place up North Leeds way, and they support with mental health and things like that. And it was it was an art session. So that were it. I just really couldn't cope. I was looking at everybody else's more than what was on my paper. And it was the paintbrushes. Then there was all these things. There was string and a whole array of creative resources, really, creative tools. And I looked at my picture and I drew some flowers and I just cried and I panicked and I really couldn't cope. So if I kind of look at it like that, when I was a teen, I was going through a lot of trauma. There was a lot going on. And that is the kind of time when you're in high school, isn't it? When you're doing more art. So I'd already got to a stage in my life where I wasn't enough. I wasn't heard. I wasn't believed. There was so much going on. And then to actually, as an adult, feel the same, I was just in a really, really difficult and low place. So that was then. And then 10, 12 years later now, so let's go back to 2 years. So 10 years later, I became part of a book collaboration. I became a different person. And originally, when I first started my counselling practice, which was in 2021, so around COVID time as well, I said I was a real mouthful, real tongue twister, basically. Children and young people's person-centred counsellor who supports with anxiety and stress, attachment therapy. Whoa, who is going to listen to that? That is just crazy. But I felt, because everything had to be in boxes, you know, that's how my brain worked, that I had to put exactly the title. That is, I trained as a person-centred counsellor. I had to have it in. And then something changed in my head, and I don't exactly know what it was, but I think I started to grow.
You were writing, weren't you? And I think that's a creative process in itself.
Yes.
I think the writing process, the creative writing process, even though, I mean, it was creative, but obviously it was your story you were telling, so it was still, it's not like it was made up, but and creative in that way. But do you think that process helped? I know it helped me when I was part of a collaboration book as well.
Yeah, it's very cathartic, isn't it? I mean, there were several times that I wasn't doing that. I was stopping, the wall went up, but I've done that with a lot of things over the years, you know, that I've found a challenge. But then it's almost like stepping out of your comfort zone as well. So yeah, that could have helped. And
Yeah.
also I think realizing that actually there's more to counselling than just talking, you know, and I was already using all these resources and building it. Oh, I loved it, buying as much as I could. And I was back in the nurseries, you know, I was at that level, like, it doesn't matter if you buy stuff that's for younger children because they're going to get out of it. You know, some children don't get to experience play. We don't get to experience play as adults. So let's take it back, you know, sand, all that kind of stuff. And I think that with the growth and having coaching and starting to believe in myself, and I was having therapy as well at the time myself, I just think that there was something in me that is like, it's got to change. It's got to change. This title is not right. So that is when I became it. Yeah.
Like your sunshine then came out.
Yes, that was it. The logo as well. The logo, as you well know, is a sunshine. And I think that was the starting point, finding a logo. Because before then, do you know that I wasn't a business person. I was just a counsellor. I didn't have a business, just a counsellor. Yeah.
And now you get to bring the sunshine to families, which is amazing. And you bring it in a creative way. So how does creativity, in the way that you do it as well, how does it reduce anxiety for families?
So one of the biggest things, and it's a real kind of like streamlined through my business, through the creativity, through me as a person and through the counselling, is taking away them pressures to speak, to talk. You know, I know myself, therapy is really hard, and to sit there and talk about what's going on, you know, it can be really difficult, and it brings tears and it brings anxiety and it brings pressures and blame and guilt and shame and all that kind of stuff. And I just think, why should children have to go through that? Why should they, you know? So that is the biggest thing. And doing the counselling, I think it was even in the first introduction I did right back then, that was 2012, I think. One of the facts was that verbal communication is only 7% and non-verbal communication is 93%.
Wow.
So when you look at that, and the reason we was told that is so because what happens in counselling and other things, if you think about it, you know, you'll be aware with masking, especially with your son, that actually what is being spoken about is actually not how the body language, the facial expression, the movements, the behaviours doesn't match. Doesn't match at all. So it was like, right, okay, so let's bring in creativity. Let's bring in things that these children that'll enjoy, you know, let's make these sessions fun so they're not scary. They're not like adult sessions. This is a school thing, but one client in particular that I work, because I'm a school counsellor as well, which is great because I get to see both sides of it. And when I'm speaking to my parents, I'm able to say I work in schools as well. And it's a big reassurance knowing that actually you see what's going on in schools. So I see, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one client once says to me, we'd come to the end and everything, and basically they said, you don't have a clipboard, you don't just write with a clipboard and things like that. And that were just like, wow, that is the difference. You know, you're allowed to explore. We know that being creative is endless opportunities, exploration through loads and loads of different ways. And I think what I'd done is I just knocked that wall down. Forget that wall, it's gone.
Yeah.
I am creative. You be creative for a long time, you know?
Yeah.
Let's take away that criticism of yourself and do it.
So if we were like obviously I work with business owners, but a lot of business owners might have themselves or family members that are suffering with anxiety. And if we wanted to try creativity to bring it into our lives to help with anxiety, how would you reckon we should bring, or could even, I don't like the word should, how could we bring creativity into our daily lives? What would be your recommendations or ideas?
So you can do things like, first of all, look at what you've got in your house. You don't even need to go out and buy things. So children love to, like, for instance, let's take gaming. So gaming, you know, being on PCs and things like that, we know that it affects how our brains work because it almost rewires them in some ways. But then you can also have that creative side. So instead of it just, I'm going to take Fortnite because I know that's quite a popular one. So Fortnite. Yeah. And then you would play the game, but then let's make games out of it, you know, for instance, or talk about it. Or instead of talking, let's draw them and things like that. So that is creative. The other side of it is like going for walks, going outside, looking at what's in nature, using our senses more, you know, because that's a thing that kind of becomes a lot more limited when you're feeling anxious and stressed. So like being outside, be mindful by just stopping and listening. What can you hear? A really good one, there's a couple, and it's hard because obviously I'm not visual, but like doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch or you can swap them over, and 1 thing you can taste. So when you're outside, you know, most of the things, taste can be a bit harder, although there is all wild like blackberries and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So, and what it's doing is it's distracting from masses of talking, because we can over talk to children as well. And I learned this in nurseries. You've got to keep it on their understanding level. When we start saying, right, I need you to do this and go get this, don't forget that you need to bring this with you as well. And also make sure that you've got your red socks on.
I think sometimes we're so overwhelmed in our own adult lives that we forget that kids are actually still the same, overwhelmed in their child like life.
Yeah.
I know sometimes that, like, when I say, if for example, if I go to the kids, clean your bedroom, that's such a massive task. Whereas when I say, pick your clothes up off the floor, they'll do that, and then I can say, oh great, could you also put the toys back in the boxes or something like that? And it becomes easier and manageable because it's clear and simple. And I think sometimes we have to be creative in the way we instruct as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's so true, Danny, that yeah, it is about using what you've got. Make things fun. I
Yeah.
don't know if, you know, some parents might not like singing, but you can make things into songs.
Yeah.
You
Like,
can make
I don't
little
think we all get
dances up.
cooked in our house without a bit of singing, and Eliza
Oh,
joins
yeah,
in. It's so lovely. She doesn't know the words at all. She makes her own song up at the same time. I love it. And she, can
that's
you
amazing.
hear me? Yes, I can. Keep going. I love it, and I love hearing that. Nothing is nicer to see or hear apart from the messy side. Than kids just enjoying a creative thing like that. I love it. So as business owners, then, how do you think? Which do you think we could implement creativity to aid us in our business as well? So if we are feeling anxious about life or business, we could implement creativity. And do you think we should? I think we should.
Absolutely. I mean, for you, Danny, you've got so many systems and things in place because you're the queen of organization, opposite to me in some way. But the amount of creativity you've put into there,
Yeah.
even just the starting point, knowing that, right, I want to build a business. Where do I start? So yeah, you do need some planning and, you know, and some organization in that way.
Do it in a creative way, can't you? Like, one of the things I do is
Do it
my mind
creatively.
map along, color
Yeah,
coding, and getting the
yeah.
pens out. I've got my vision board behind here actually. It's actually a painting, and then I did the usual cutting and sticking. So that was very, very creative. But it was my plan. But it looks beautiful, and it's about a creative process, and it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And the word you're using there, the key word is fun. So
Yeah.
bring fun and enjoyment into your business. Don't have to be all formal and things like that. At the end of the day, it's your business. It's what, you know, it's what you want it to thrive, you want it to grow, and you've got to enjoy it and have fun with it as well. And if you're not, then maybe you'll need to look at something different. And I just know where I am now in my business. It's my calling. I've always
Yeah.
meant to do
I just love
this.
how much you're enjoying it as well, and it lights me up because I'm really enjoying my business right now, and I just want everyone to feel like that. And you've actually got some exciting things coming up, haven't you, Sam? Do you want to share with us what's coming up for you?
Yes, I'd love to. So recently I decided that working outside was quite important as getting like particularly young people. So we're talking 11 upwards, out of the four walls, you know, because sometimes it can struggle. If we think about like COVID, all, you know, everything that we've gone through as a whole, as a world and things, there's so much going on, and there's still loads of wars and things, wars, and, you know, there's so much conflict and things within the world. And I just think being outside, it's a huge distraction, as we've talked about. So I've invested and done some training and workshops and things, and I am going to be starting exciting in the spring. So, which is now,
Oh yeah, well I know, yeah.
but not quite yet. After the Easter holidays, I everything will be all sorted and things, and I will be introducing ecotherapy into my practice, which means in English words, or in what's the word? Legum? Can't think. That's the thing I forget. Yeah,
Yeah.
them terms. Them terms. That I will be able to work outside with young people, and it can be walk and talk, it can be just sitting in an area exploring what's outside. You can look at it differently, so you can look at like a vast space. So I'm looking at using Temple Newsam as well, because I think that's kind of, it's got loads of different areas to explore, so a wide space, because again, if young people struggle to be in enclosed spaces, there's that. But we've got to think of confidentiality as well. So it's being
Yeah.
aware of lots and lots of things. And I've been doing some risk assessments as well to ensure that there's so much put in place. And then the other side of it is like if they want to go for a walk through the woods. I mean, for instance, that using your senses, walking on twigs that make a sound. You've got, you know, you can hear it, can't you? But it can
Mm.
create so much. What it sounds like, and then you can pick it up, what it feels like, what it looks like, the smells and things like that. So just a twig can create so much, and then maybe memories as well that it might bring as well. And then there's obviously like the streams as well there as well. So again, being near water is a real
Sounds
calming
amazing.
influence. Absolutely. So yeah, so that is starting, as I say, after the Easter holidays. I'm just in the process of getting all the last bits put together. Thank you to Claire Marshall for doing the risk assessment with me and giving me so much ideas and information and things that I didn't think of as well, because it'd be really useful. And then the second thing is I've become a CIC director. So that is community.
Community interest company. I
That's
don't know how I remember some of this stuff because other things fall out in my head, but yeah, community interest company.
with Jan Ockenden, who is an amazing therapist and coach. She's now my business buddy. And we are going to be supporting single parent families. So we're looking at doing wellbeing events. We're looking at doing parents groups, teens groups, and other stuff as well. So kind of real developing into that wellbeing side of it all, which I'm really excited. And we are called Happy Hearts and Minds.
Oh, that is going to be amazing. And I'm not even a single parent, but I'm like, I'm still going to show. I think it's an amazing thing to do. And you know what? I'm seeing more circles like this popping up. Like our school now, it's got a parents like coffee morning on a Wednesday, which I think is lovely, for parents to go to. So if we want to connect with you and see these two amazing opportunities and see how we can work with you as a creative counsellor or anything that you're up to, because you do also have your own creative series, so definitely go check that out with Sam's as well. You've got the
Yes.
next one, next season loading. How can we come and find you? Where can we connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook as SJR Counselling. I also have a website, and that has just recently changed its name. So I think that's sjrcounselling.com. Apologies if I get it wrong. I'll add the details in later, Danny. And I've recently gone back onto LinkedIn, but it's very kind of at the beginning again, because I've just recently changed my branding and my logo and things like that. So yeah, but my inbox is always open as well. So even if it's just to contact me for a chat, it doesn't have to be so specific. It's, yeah, I'm there.
Amazing. And then the final question that I ask all my guests, and I'm interested to see what your answer, Sam, is how would you recommend being organised in your business? I don't know.
Okay. So I think being organised is reaching out for support.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard to do everything on your own. And I found that I've found it really difficult. And not even that because I'm working as well. It's just finding that time, finding the motivation, because it goes back to, I'm not enough to do this. I don't deserve to do this. Well, absolutely I do. I will not swear on here.
Oh, we have many swearers, don't worry.
Oh, okay then. Well, then I will then. So absolutely fucking hell I will, because I just think that it's so important to follow your dreams and follow your desires and do what you want to do. You know, there's no point just thinking about it anymore. So organization is, I kind of use Google Calendar. It's multicolored.
It is
Yeah,
amazing though.
definitely.
And you can be kind of great with that, I guess, with the colours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we're both wearing bright colours anyway today. I'm wearing my branding, and you've got some of your branding on as well, I would say so.
But my pink hair again and orange, like
absolutely, of
the
course.
best about the sun shining.
Yeah, well, I've got my yellows, but I haven't got. Well, I've got yellow nails.
Oh, amazing. And do you know what? When I said that about being organised, the laugh said it all, Sam. It really did. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm really excited to see your projects come into fruition, because I know that both of them are going to be amazing. And then your creativity series as well coming back. All of
Yes.
it is great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.